to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, gotta fill up.
Yo, what's going on, good people? And welcome back to another video. Today we are here to do our WWE Top 10 Money in the Bank cash-ins. And I'm joined with the Money in the Briefcase holder, Kicking It with Leo. What's going on, Leo?
What's going on, everybody? I'm feeling good. I mean, Money in the Bank is one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year, and I'm definitely looking forward to Money in the Bank next weekend. But before we get to that, we got to say some of our favorite moments, or especially cash-in-wise from history. So,
yeah, most definitely. And I know that Money in the Bank is one of your favorite pay-per-views throughout the year. So, like, why not do a top 10 Money in the Bank cash-ins?
yeah.
And I think I want to do these like once a month of these like specific videos. Maybe like next month, do like top Great American Bash moments or some when it gets closer to SummerSlam, we'll do like our best SummerSlam matches and whatnot, best SummerSlam moments. But I digress. We're here to talk about the top 10 Money in the Bank cash-ins. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So number 5 on my list, I'm going to be going with, and also a disclaimer here: if your wrestler or if your favorite cash-in isn't on the list, like don't be discouraged, because you know what,
It might be good.
That cash-in. It might be a good cash-in. It's just
you got to look at everything. You got to take everything into a full effect here, like the reign that they did when they officially cashed in. But we're specifically talking about the moment they cashed in, or like them being briefcase holder and their impact as being Mr. or Mrs. Money in the Bank.
Okay, so my number 5 is going to be Dean Ambrose from 2016 when he cashed in on Seth Rollins. Like that was just an historical moment because well, we had Roman Reigns coming in as the the world champion at that point, and then Seth Rollins took it off of him, and all 3 of the Shield members held the title in the same night. I mean, that's historic. I mean, that was pretty cool in itself, and I wasn't really expecting Ambrose to cash in on that night, so that was a really surprise for me. So yeah, my number 5 is Dean Ambrose. What about you, Leo?
Well, my number 5 is from the women's side of things. We got Liv Morgan as my number 5. I do think this was definitely a moment a lot of people didn't see coming. A lot of people wanted to see happen. And when you look back at Money in the Bank last year, we could we went in that match and saying like, yes, it's a possibility she could win, but it was so stacked. It's like the odds weren't necessarily in her favor. And then the fact that they, had her pull the trigger and had her win. But not only that, but she cashed in on Ronda Rousey. Not many people could say they cashed in or at least beat Ronda Rousey for the championship, or at least even beat her in general. So I think that cash in definitely will hold a lot of weight. Is when you look at it from like a couple years from now. But in my number 5, I got to go Liv Morgan.
There you go. That's a good one. I knew you was going to have that one on your list because you're a big Liv Morgan mark.
You're right.
So number 4 is going to be Randy Orton from SummerSlam 2013. Woo! And so we had Daniel Bryan. He just won the WWE Championship against John Cena, which was a great match. If you guys haven't ever seen that match, definitely go check it out. Which SummerSlam's coming up, but yeah, we have Bryan just beat Cena, and then we have Orton come out. He teases that he's going to cash in, but Triple H, as Orton's walking away, Triple H pedigrees Daniel Bryan, turns heel, and this is basically the start of the Authority, the whole start of the Authority. Randy Orton comes in, cashes in, you have all the confetti that came down for Daniel Bryan, great moment, and it just gets snatched away from Daniel Bryan like that.
Yeah.
Like in that moment, I was upset when Orton cashed in, but it was a great cash in because I was not expecting that there. Like that was a really good cash in, and that really started like the whole got more of like the yes movement, like going like when they were calling Daniel Bryan a B+ player, and like that got him his big moment at WrestleMania 30 the following year.
Yeah.
So yeah, my number 4 is going to be Randy Orton from SummerSlam 2013.
Okay, so my number 4. I mean, this was probably when people are probably gonna probably look back on this video and say like, well, we picked somebody the same. But my number 4 is Dean Ambrose, aka Jon Moxley. I think when you look at the Shield, they've accomplished everything from being tag team champions, all their accolades in between. the moment that they all held the WWE Championship in one night, people are going to look back on years from now and say that's so iconic that this stable were able to hold the championship in one night. Like, not many factions or anybody in a group can say they've all been world champions, but for all of them to be world champion in one night, that's definitely an iconic moment people are going to look back on. And when you think about it, Dean Ambrose was always that guy in the Shield that everybody wanted to see climb to the top of the mountain and be WWE champion since they initially broke up in 2014. But even though it was subject to bad booking and everything like that, but the moment itself was probably one of the best moments that you could have got to see in like Money in the Bank history. Even though it's not like on everybody's list because how everything played out after he won the championship, but like the initial moment of him cashing in was iconic because it's a full circle moment after everything they've been through. Seth Rollins turning on Roman and Ambrose finally getting his revenge on Seth Rollins and finally getting the championship that he always wanted. Mm-hmm. So Dean Ambrose is my number 4.
That's a good one. That's a good one there. Okay, so now we go on to number 3.
Yes, sir.
This is going to be from the night after WrestleMania 29. We have Dolph Ziggler coming in and cashing in on Alberto Del Rio. This was like one of the loudest pops I've heard for a cash in.
Yes.
And like I was hoping that he would do that WrestleMania, that he would cash in there, have that big moment there, but he didn't do it there. He did it the night after WrestleMania. And it's unfortunate for the the title reign that he had because it didn't last very long because he had some injuries and stuff, and it really wasn't his fault. It was more on Alberto Del Rio. But
yeah.
And it's unfortunate that Dolph Ziggler hasn't had, any other title reigns. I mean, he's had, good IC title reigns, but like he hasn't had a world title since, which is terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dolph Ziggler is my number 3. I mean, I would say, he had the NXT title, but like, it's not.
You wouldn't really technically count that as a world title. I mean, you can if you consider it in the grand scheme of things, I guess. But my number 3 is also Dolph Ziggler. I think if he didn't get injured, I feel like if he would have had a lengthy reign or whatever, because I think the moment that he cashed in was probably one of the biggest moments or the biggest pops I've ever heard. Like, I remember watching it from home, and I literally seen people go berserk. People were literally chanting this guy's name, even though he was technically still a heel at that time. But like the crowd's perception of him really put them in a position where they had to turn him babyface. And I feel like if he didn't get injured, like you said, it came down to Alberto Del Rio being unsafe. But I feel like if he didn't get that concussion, it's no telling what could have happened. That whole storyline that he was in and him cashing in, it could have propelled him to the main event scene. Because I think Dolph Ziggler, he's like, yes, he has a long tenure with the company, but I think this is a guy that a lot of people look back on and say, this is a guy that should have been a WWE champion, multi-time WWE champion at that. He should have held the WWE championship at least 3 times already. He could have had the championship in 2016 because he was so high in 2016. He could have had it in 2014 because he was still high. 2013, they could have even made him WWE champion. Those were 3 prime opportunities that they could have made him WWE champion, but because the injury and they felt like he was injury prone, they just failed to capitalize on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah. Number 3 for both of ours is Dolph Ziggler.
Yes.
Okay, so now we go to number 2.
Yeah.
So this is from New Year's Revolution 2006. We got the first ever cash in. We had Edge cash in after John Cena was in a grueling Elimination Chamber match. Vince goes like, hey, you're not done. You're going to be facing the regular superstar Edge. And this is where basically Edge became known as the ultimate opportunist here when he cashed in on John Cena. And this really propelled Edge to that main event scene. This was that moment there. I say if he didn't have that Money Bank scene, I don't know if he would have been in that top tier.
No,
but yeah, that's really what propelled him into that top tier. Becoming the ultimate opportunist, becoming that slimy heel that he is. Like I hated Edge at that point. Like I really did when I was a kid. But yeah, my number 2 is Edge from New Year's Revolution 2006. What about you, Leo?
We also gotta agree again. We're also on the same pick. We're on the same playing field here. I also have Edge as my number two. Like a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people hated Edge, but for whatever reason, I liked Edge, and I think he was in the situation that he was in back in 2005. He was like a mid card, type of talent. But with this is one of the scenarios where we talk about Money in the Bank catapulting somebody that's might be in the lower tier card up to the main event scene, and starting their career. He literally is one of the reasons when people think of Money in the Bank, they think of Edge because of what it did for his career. This guy was in the mid card, and he literally, held on to it. He called his shot and became WWE champion, and this is why we call him the ultimate opportunist, because he cashed it the most opportune time when John Cena was down and out after a grueling match in Elimination Chamber. He cashed in while his opponent was down. He took advantage. A lot of people might say, "Oh, that's a completely heel move," but you got to think about it. If any one of us was wrestlers right now, wouldn't you do the same thing if you had a shot to cash in to become world champion? You would have done the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the radar spinner title, which I wasn't mad at. So
yeah, I was actually pretty fan. I was a fan of that title, but and even we saw the celebration with Lita and Edge on Raw. Oh,
I watched it. My parents was not pleased.
yeah, like I had to change the channel when my parents walked in the room. I'm going, nope, I gotta change the channel for this.
I didn't. I just went to my room and finished it.
Pause.
No, I just went to my room and finished watching the celebration.
Okay, so now my number one. I mean, this is probably an obvious pick for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's obvious.
So I got the WrestleMania 31. This was the heist of the century, as Michael Cole says. We have Seth freaking Rollins coming in and cashing in at WrestleMania 31 on Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Now, back in 2015 when I was doing this preview, I was like, the only way for them to book themselves out of this corner is to have Seth Rollins cash in.
Yeah, because they were both hated at that time. Roman felt like he was just being pushed down. Yep, they felt like Roman was being pushed down their throats. And the thing is, during that time, this is still what everybody still wanted Daniel Bryan to be in this spot, because they were supposed to have a match at SummerSlam in 2014, and then because of him getting injured, it got changed to Cena and Brock, and then we've seen how that ended up. And then Daniel Bryan made his return, and then people want to see him win the Rumble since they didn't do it the previous year. And I felt like a lot of people would look back on it and say this is one of those scenarios where he could have went both years and people would have been fine with it, because that's how over he was. And then they ended up having Roman win. And then when we seen what happened in 2015 with Daniel Bryan getting eliminated, then people started to boo when Roman came out, because it's like anybody except Roman at this point. Then Ambrose came out, and he was like the clear-cut babyface that people wanted to win. And then he got eliminated. And then Rusev was the final. And then Rusev get thrown over, and then Roman Reigns gets the Mania. And people were pissed.
And people were pissed. And, people didn't want to see Brock Lesnar retain. They didn't want to see Roman, and, they didn't care about seeing both these guys as champion. So Rollins came in, like I said, this was the heist of the century. Rollins came in, cashed in. Amazing moment. I was there live for it. I was marking out. This was an amazing moment when Seth Rollins cashed in. So, yeah, that's my number one. What about you, Leo?
I am also in agreement with you there. My number one is Seth Rollins. I was considering doing Seth Rollins and Edge interchangeable, but I just think of the impact that both of these guys had definitely deserved to be number 1 and 2, respectively, because they do have some of the most iconic cash-ins of all time. But you got to think, no disrespect to Edge, but the thing with Edge and Rollins is Rollins made a bigger impact because he cashed in on Mania. Nobody can really say.
And it was during the match as well. You got to put
exactly.
that into fact.
You got to take that into effect.
Him running down the ramp, the music coming on, him running down the ramp, and like commentary go like, "What? He's cashing in." Like,
yeah, because it's like
never been
nobody would have thought that. Like the heist of the century, and then people like even the commentary put it over. It's like the heist of the century. That people were marking out. Some people in the crowd were surprised that they actually pulled a move, but it was like you had to do it because you had to call an audible at that point because nobody really wanted to see this match. Yes, when you look back at Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar's feud, even though we got plenty of those matches. But you have to think that 31 is probably like one of their best matches that they have been putting up since. Outside of that, maybe SummerSlam, you could probably put those two, but everything else was just not that good. Those two are probably like their best matches that they've had. And even then, even though it was like their first time competing, and for me personally, I would have considered a dream match for me because I'm like, I wouldn't mind seeing it, but not for the title in this state that he was in. And then him doing the whole suffering succotash, like I wasn't buying into that. Like that was just so generic. And then the contacts, and I couldn't buy into that. If we would just got the silent assassin, like the one that just didn't talk much, but just just went and fought people, and then they booked it that way, I probably would have been somewhat okay with it. But even then, it was too early for him to be propelled into the main event. It should have been a slow build. Him going through the mid card, holding like the U.S. or the Intercontinental title, and then probably once he holds those titles for like a good 4 or 5 months, then you could try, seeing how it works out, put him in the main event, seeing how he does there.
Mm-hmm.
But Rollins just you can't deny that Rollins cashed in Mania. Nobody can say that can take that away from him. He's the only one that's done it. And he's probably going to be the only one that does it, as far as I'm being honest, until I see it. Yeah, Rollins has to be number one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was our top 10 Money in the Bank cash-ins. Feel free to go down in the comments below. Tell us what your favorite cash-ins are. Because I'll like to hear your guys' list as well.
Yeah.
And also, definitely go subscribe to Kickin' It with Leo. Let me pull up his stuff right here. Go subscribe to Kickin' It with Leo. He does horror content. He does gaming content, wrestling content. And so if you love all that, definitely go subscribe to Kickin' It with Leo. He's on the road to 600 subscribers. So let's get him to 600.
15 away.
I'm almost to 600 as well. So, we're almost there.
I'm 15 away, and I believe you're about 10 away. So
I'm like three or 4 away right now. So
okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, so definitely go subscribe to Kickin' It with Leo, and also subscribe to my channel as well, Juggernaut097. I do a lot of wrestling content on here. I do pay-per-view reviews. I do pay-per-view predictions. I do these I'm going to start doing. Me and Leo are going to start doing these more top 10 videos because I think these are pretty cool to have a debate on.
Cool.
Also, I do retro reviews. I do vlogs, which I'm going to be doing a vlog next weekend. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn on the notification bell to be notified every time me and Leo make a new video.
Even if we're not on this channel or my channel, we're on the Flex Zone. So definitely, if you love wrestling, definitely catch us on the Flex Zone tomorrow night because we will be covering Forbidden Door. So if you guys love you some AEW, be on the lookout because we will be there.
Yeah, we'll be reacting to Forbidden Door tomorrow night, so that's gonna be fun. But as it goes for Kicking It with Leo and Juggernaut097, we will see you guys in our next videos. Peace out. And the money bank briefcase holder right over there. He's gonna cash in.